Commissioners. Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Hello, everybody.
Good evening.
Okay, Sean, I've let everybody in. People are still connecting, but you have everybody.
Right. Good evening, gentlemen. And Ann. And Robin. Will the meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission for December 4th, 2024, please come to order? This evening's meeting will be a virtual planning and zoning meeting hosted by Zoom. During this meeting, our procedures will be as follows. When you first enter the Zoom meeting, you will be in a virtual waiting room until the meeting host admits you. Number two, please be aware that your camera, if you have one, and your microphone will be muted by the meeting host when you enter the meeting. You can turn on your camera at any time so that you can be seen by others when or if you choose to. In order to run an efficient and orderly meeting in this virtual environment, unless stated otherwise by the meeting chair during the meeting host may keep everyone other than the commission members muted. You will still be able to hear everything said by the commission members, even if you are muted and or your camera is not on. There will be opportunity for the public comment during public hearings, at which time public participants will be unmuted. Number three, during the public hearing, the applicant will be invited to present the application, explain to the commission and others present what is being requested. The meeting host will share all related documents on the screen as needed. In addition, all applications and supporting materials for each application on the agenda have been available through a direct link on the Planning and Zoning page on the town's website. Comments of town agencies will be discussed as applicable to the application. There will be clarifying comments from the commissioners, clarifying questions from the commissioners, and the town planner will direct our attention to any additional items pertinent to the application. Number five, after all commissioners' questions are exhausted, those who wish to speak in support or in opposition to the application will be asked to come forward, state their name and address for the record, and make a statement. The applicant will then have an opportunity to address any questions or concerns raised by the public or commissioners. Once the public hearing is closed, the applicant is free to leave or remain for the balance of the public hearing and the regular meeting, during which the commission will try to reach a decision on each application. Each applicant will be notified in writing as to the decision of this commission and has a right to appeal to the Supreme Court if desired. Decisions of this meeting are available the day after the meeting by calling Planning and Zoning Department at 203-453-8039 or by emailing planning.zoning@guilford.gov after 9 a.m. All actions taken on applications tonight by the commission will be by roll call. All commissioners and staff will identify themselves for the record before speaking. Seated this evening are the following members who will please identify themselves. Bill Freeman.
Bill Freeman.
Phil Johnson.
Present.
Kevin Clark.
Present.
Roger Joyce.
Present.
Mr. Harrington.
Here.
Are there others present? I can't see them.
Larry Rizzola.
Larry Rizzola.
Don Pritchard's here.
Oh, okay. All right. So Don is
Chair?
here and Larry Rizzola?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, so you have 5 regular members, but you could seat 2 alternates if you so desire.
You know, I think more voices is better than fewer. So Don, would you be willing to do it?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. And Bob.
So I will say that I will absolutely do it if you want, but I was seated last month, and I don't know if
Oh.
Larry has been seated
Yeah,
recently.
Larry was
Let-
benched
let's-
last month.
Yeah, I'm up
Let's do Larry. Larry, are you willing?
and able.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. Staff present are Ann Harton, town planner, Abby Healy, or I think Abby's here, right?
Abby is not here tonight.
Oh, Abby's not here. And Robin Penna, the administrative assistant for the Planning and Zoning Commission. So this meeting will be recorded via the Zoom platform made available on the town website for viewing.
Sean,
All right.
quick point of order. I think
Yes.
you've seated 8 people. So if I'm not wrong, Roger, Kevin, Larry, Bob, Bill, myself, you, and Don.
Oh, Bob's not seated.
Bob's not seated? Okay. I retract my statement. Thank you for the correction.
Thanks for
It's
counting.
it's always nice. It's always nice to have you around.
We missed you.
Yeah, we missed you. We wish you. Yes. All right. So the agenda for this evening.
Would you like me to read the legal notice, Mr. Chairman?
That would be wonderful.
Okay. Notice is hereby given that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a virtual public hearing and regular meeting Wednesday, December 4th, 2024 at 7 p.m. via the Zoom platform by using the following link. Join the Zoom meeting, https://us06web.zoom.us/j/639-632-0192. The following applications will be heard: 14 Benton's Knoll, map 8, lot 2414, PRD. Owner John Young, hearing for review of cease and desist unauthorized clearing and grading within the Benton's Knoll conservation easement. Follow up on consultant and planting plan comments. 150 Church Street, map 46, lot 142R1 in Church Street Overlay District. Applicant agent Doug Williamson of Williamson Design Planning for owner 99 Little Meadow LLC. Inga Davidson, special permit for accessory structure exceeding 750 square feet. 7 Faulkner Drive, map 17, lot 63, zone R2. Applicant owners Mary Callahan and Matthew Davis, special permit to reconstruct and enlarge an existing non-conforming single-family residence per 8.2.e. Text amendment, large accessory structures, applicant and Hardin Town Planner.
Yeah, Phil, all those text amendment items are being tabled.
Well, then in that case, we shall not need to read them. Copies of these applications are available for inspection in the Planning and Zoning Office on the town's website. At this hearing, persons may attend via web connection shall be heard. All written correspondence shall be submitted to the Planning and Zoning at planning.zoning@guilfordct.gov 24 hours prior to the meeting day. Documents are available at the Planning and Zoning Office. Dial 203-453-8039 for assistance. Dated at Guilford, Connecticut, this 21st of November, 2024. Sean Cosgrove, Chairman. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you, sir.
So our first item on the agenda tonight is something held over from the last meeting. This is 14 Benton's Knoll, map 8, lot 2414, PRD. The owner is John Young. This is the hearing for review of the cease and desist on the authorized clearing and grading within the Benton's Knoll conservation easement, a follow-up on the consultant and planting plan comments. I will just briefly say that I've read through the letters submitted by the applicant and his attorney. That's available online. I can share with you the planting plan that they submitted. I think perhaps we were not clear enough in what we are looking for as an ecological restoration and not just a decorative planting plan. So my suggestion would be that we ask the applicant to find a qualified landscape architect or a restoration ecologist to come and take a look and propose a planting plan that is more in line with the reestablishment of a hardwood forest edge.
So
That was-
let's be clear. The applicant has not hired a qualified landscape architect to meet with the requirements that Abby and or Kevin had laid out for him, which required native plants to be restored.
Yeah, I mean, I can share this with you and we can let the applicant speak, but they submitted a plan from Madison Earth Care for essentially a decorative planting. Let me bring it up so you can take a look at it. Can you see that?
Yes.
So it's a series of white pines and a conservation seed mix. Neither, I love New England wetland plants and their conservation seed mixes, but what we are trying to reestablish in this area is a native, a second growth native hardwood forest. And this is not that. But yeah, that's what we have as the plan and a request to not have to meet the caliper inches as originally dictated, but in the cease and desist.
So I really have to defer to staff a little bit and just ask whether there is an appearance here of non-adherence to the original order. Or, this original cease and desist was because the homeowner had cleared land in a conservation easement that he had no right to do. That's established, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I reread the correspondence provided by the applicant. I think there were liberties taken. Can I say that that was intentional or not? I have no idea, and I wasn't here. Yeah, I wasn't party to the conversation, so I can't tell you, but I can tell you, when I reread it, I could see how different people read it different ways, and it is what it is. I don't think authorization was ever given for the clear cutting and removals as extensive as they were, but I guess that's neither here nor there at this point.
Yeah. Does the staff find the Madison Earth Care plan to be acceptable based on everything that has happened before?
No,
Okay.
absolutely not.
All right. I would. Should we let the applicant speak, or should we just talk to the commission? Let's hear from the applicant. Is Mr. Young here?
Mr. Young's not here. He's on a plane right now, traveling back from a work assignment.
Okay. Oh, so Attorney Beatty, what do you say to this? I mean, it's an awkward situation.
I don't doubt it's an awkward situation. I'm hearing this right now for the first time from Ms. Hartgen. So we submitted a plan. I would welcome the opportunity to work with staff to develop a response that would be acceptable to staff and to this, and hopefully to this commission.
I'll just say, just off the cuff, if Mr. Young is trying to avoid cost and hiring Madison Earth Care to come up with something, but not consistent with what staff had recommended, then I don't think it's gonna fly.
I'm not what we presented to staff and what Mr. Young engaged Madison Earth Care to do was to try and come up with a plan that we thought was addressing the concerns. We've heard tonight that that's not the case. And we're committed, as we represented at last month's hearing, that we're willing to engage, to meet with staff and discuss with staff what we can do to address the town's and this commission's concerns. I don't think that's changed from what I represented last month. The only thing that's happened is tonight we've received feedback from Ms. Harchin as to, that the plan was deficient. So we'd welcome the opportunity, as we represented last month, to meet with staff and to come up with a plan that's going to be satisfactory.
Do other commissioners have questions for the applicant's representative?
So I just want to say one thing. The last time we went through this in the last meeting, there were two issues going on. There was the resident who took down the easement stuff, and there was supposed to be a replacement of a certain lineage of tree that he removed. I think we agreed on a number of that. But we also had the homeowners association of Benton Knoll responsible for removing some trees in the wood line that upset one of the neighbors on the back street. So I don't know if the two are getting confused. Did he meet his obligation under the lineage? And then we still have to deal with the homeowners association to figure out the rest of the trees they took down. I don't know if anybody remembers that from the last meeting.
Yeah, there were questions about the caliper of the trees that were to be replaced. But I recall specifically that there were native plants had been removed.
Sean, we lost your mic there for a minute. Can you repeat that last sentence?
That native plants have been removed, that the caliper of the trees being required had been established. And I really don't want to get into anything that resembles harassment here. I want to come to some resolution if we can. And Attorney Beatty, we may have to, ask you to come back again. I hate to do that, but I just think that this is, I don't want to set a precedent here by allowing someone to invade and clear a conservation easement and have someone just walk away free and clear without having to rectify what they have done.
I understand that completely, and we are. That's what we're trying to do, is to rectify what's been done. I think, from our perspective, we would, as I mentioned earlier, we would welcome the opportunity to. We can come back to next month's meeting, but in the interim, I think it would be productive to meet with staff to come up with to come up with a plan that's going to satisfy staff's and this commission's concern, instead of waiting to come to meeting after meeting.
I think that would be the most productive path we can take, for your client's time, our time, and staff's time. So I would entertain any other questions from commissioners on this?
Yeah, I have a question for Ann, because my understanding was that they would hire someone such as you said, a landscape architect, but that architect and plan had to be approved by us.
Right.
Yeah, so so it would be pointless to come back to the commission, Mr. Beatty, unless that step had been accomplished. Right, you mentioned having a meeting with staff, but I think the requirement was to identify a qualified landscape architect and have that person vetted, if you will, by the town and say, yes, that person is qualified to do what we want to do.
I think I might be comfortable with accepting town staff's recommendation on, like, if they come back and say, hey, this is okay with us, that we can review that in association with a modified plan.
Yeah.
I would agree with that, Phil. I just think that prolonging this, is time wasting for this commission, is time wasting for staff, is time wasting for this applicant. But I do think that resolution, going to Larry's point, is to have the requirements met. And if it takes multiple meetings with staff, Attorney Beatty, that's what it takes. And then-
Understood.
Thank you.
We want to do this as efficiently as possible. We want to engage with staff, come up with a plan. My client, I'll discuss it with my client and explain to him what we're doing. And this is, I think, would be the most effective or efficient use of everyone's time, rather than coming back to meeting after meeting with this commission and saying, we proposed this, it wasn't acceptable. I'm not trying to do an end run or avoid any oversight by this commission. I just want to come up with a plan that everyone is going to be comfortable with going forward.
No, I don't interpret it that way. I just think that your client has, gone rogue before, and he's gone a little bit independent with this Madison Earth Care plan. I'm familiar with the company. I respect them. I think they do great work, but I just think that we have to have a plan consistent with the damage that's been done to repair that damage. And if you're agreeing to meet with staff, that they will subsequently make a recommendation to the commission that they approve another plan that is more consistent with that's fine with me.
Yeah, that's exactly what we'd prefer to do. I mean,
Okay, that's fine.
You want to come to a resolution that's satisfactory to the commission. That's our goal.
Is that satisfactory to the other commissioners?
Birds with one stone.
I mean, I think, Sean, something I know I'd like to see, I don't know how the other commission members are gonna feel about this, is probably a plan that's somewhere halfway between what we've been presented to as a plan tonight and what was there. I on one hand, I don't feel that to replace the exact caliper number of trees that was there, I don't think that's feasible. I mean, there were some pretty large trees that were removed to ask the applicant, even though they're primarily at fault, to ask them to replace very large mature trees like that would just be
Oh,
an
no.
expense that would be great. No, so I don't think, on one hand, we're looking for that, but I also, the plan I saw tonight looked to be rather sparse. I just took a quick look at it. It looked like it was a few pine trees and a Connecticut native seed mix. I'd like to see maybe some more native woody shrubs thrown in there. So maybe just a little bit more of an eclectic mix of native plants, more than what's shown in the plan now. And I think that's a reasonable compromise.
If
Again,
I may just-
I would entrust staff to review options here as we go forward. Is very capable in terms of landscape knowledge, and I think her advice and her working with Attorney Beatty and the homeowner would be quite useful, and then brought to us with her recommendation.
If I may, I think part of the challenge here is that there's a fairly large misunderstanding of I think what we're looking for. We're looking for a landscape restoration. We're not looking for an aesthetic landscaping plan. There's two very different things. So that said, I think Abby's original order requested a replacement of not 100% of the caliper inches lost, but an approximation of 2/3 of that.
Okay.
But that would be a mix of hardwood trees and maybe coniferous vegetation, but highly unlikely because this is not the northern pine forest. This is a hardwood forest.
So I think, Attorney Beatty, I think your operative what you should be about as you reapproach a landscape architect, whether it be Madison Earth Care, or some other firm, is restoration. I think that's the operative term you should be thinking about.
Thank you.
And happy to
State that
meet with you when you have a list of names for consideration.
Okay, so we'll come up with names of the landscape restoration firms or engineers and submit that to you, and then we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
So I think that unless any other commissioners, and I hope not, but I would open it up to any other commissioners' comments, but I think that we should close this public hearing.
Should we ask if there are members of the,
Oh, yes, are there any comments from the public? Any comments or questions from the public?
Go late on them.
So,
I see, I phoned Debbie.
Yes,
Hello. I can't figure, can you hear me?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Sorry, I can't get my video on, but I think our only concern.
No,
is-
Debbie, just state that your.
Oh, I'm
full
sorry,
name
80
and
Old
address.
Sachems Head Road, Debbie Coleman, 80 Old Sachems Head Road. My apologies. I think our only concern, I would just ask, I think we would like, if it's not going to be brought back to a public hearing, is that we're kind of how are we aware of what's going on? Because quite honestly, I'm a little surprised at the confusion of what the original ask was. It was pretty clear in the cease and desist. It was a restoration effort, and he's showing putting 9 plants back in. And I also still have concerns about where was the association? I mean, they allegedly signed off on this, but somehow they're not being held accountable for 3 rounds of blatant disregard to this conservation easement and what their association should be providing oversight to.
I have a question for Ann. Do we have to close the hearing, or can we let it go for another?
Can we just table it till the next meeting?
Yeah, you have that option. This is not like an application with a clock ticking on it. This is a discussion of a cease and desist. We've
Yeah, I
made
would
it a
like to leave it
public
open.
hearing. Yeah, we've made it a public hearing so that, the folks who live around there who want to testify may continue to do so.
Yeah, I don't want to delay it anymore, but trust me, this has been 15 years of my existence. But we just want to be sure that it gets resolved appropriately. And, nothing seems to happen that way. And we appreciate the efforts of the town in supporting us.
Thank you, Debbie.
So do we need to just leave it open, or do we need to say we're going to leave it open? I don't really
No,
know. how that
I
works.
think your suggestion, Bill, is a
I
good
feel
one.
like the man is good.
Larry, are you about to say something?
yeah, I had kind of drafted a motion to the effect of all that. If it's simpler to just say we're going to table the application, I'm fine with that too.
Well, again,
I will
it's not an application. It's just a discussion. So
Right.
So do we just leave it open? Is that correct?
I would table the discussion.
I will entertain a motion to table the discussion of 14 Benton Knolls.
I will second that.
Then I'll take a vote, I suppose. So I will start with you, Mr. Freeman. Yea or nay?
Yes.
Okay. Don,
Yes.
Kevin,
yes.
Larry, are you seated?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes and yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Yes,
and
and yes. Phil,
Yes,
Mr. Harrington.
is not seated.
Seated. Roger Joyce.
Yes,
I will vote yes, and Mr. Sands is not present, so.
Don.
What?
Don is
I
seated.
said yes already.
Oh, you did? Okay, I didn't hear Sean ask you. Sorry.
You can correct me at any time you feel necessary, Kevin. That's fine.
No. No way.
Right, moving on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Attorney Beatty.
Thanks. Thanks, Mr. Beatty.
The next item, Mr. Chair, 150 Church Street is not ready to be heard tonight, so I would ask you to vote to table that item.
Make the motion to table item 150 Church Street.
I second.
Kevin seconds.
Sure.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
who else is here? Getting confused. Did Kevin already vote?
No.
No and yes.
Okay. Roger Joyce,
Yes.
Oh, that hurt my rib.
I would, Russ. I'm sorry, Bill. I'm sorry. I vote
I'm
yes.
glad.
And
That was
Larry
so good.
Rizzolo votes yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Larry.
We're gonna miss you, Kevin.
The next item on the agenda is 7 Faulkner Drive, map 17, lot 63, zone R2. The applicant owner is Mary Callahan and Matthew Davis. This is a special permit to reconstruct and enlarge an existing non-conforming single-family residence per section 8.2.e. I did send you all the draft approval letter if you are so inclined, and I also sent you the PDF of section 8.2.e so that you can see what the standards are for that. I will say that, just for the record, that when one looks at the zoning table for this project, they are significantly increasing both coverage and floor area, and you may want to take that into consideration.
Thank you, Ann.
Are they exceeding the maximums?
Yes.
So would this, by nature of that, need to go to the zoning board of appeals for a variance?
No, the regulations are written that you are the body to consider increases in nonconformities.
So I have a question, Ann. Is it the encroachment over the building line that's the part of it, or is it the coverage of the building on the lot, or both?
Lot coverage is allowed at 15%, existing is 12.5, proposed is 17.9, and floor area is allowed at 30%. The existing is 11.1, and the proposed is 31.5.
So almost double.
No, it's one,
Triple.
it's
Almost triple.
do that again for me, please.
Lot coverage allowed is 15%.
Mm-hmm.
Existing is 12.5%.
Mm-hmm.
Proposed is 17.9%. And for floor
that-
area, which is the calculation of finished gross floor area, allowed is 30%.
Mm-hmm.
The existing is 11.1%. And the proposed is 31.5%. But you may want to hear from the applicant so that you understand why they're asking for that.
So it's the floor area that is the most expanded. Yeah.
Yes.
Is there someone, either the applicant or a representative present to speak to the commissioners about 7 Faulkner Drive?
Yep, we're both here, Mary
Okay.
and Matt.
Good. Welcome.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I'm happy to speak to what the plan actually is. We currently actually live in the property. It's about 760 square feet. The proposal is actually to increase by a floor and to bump out by about a 10 by 10 small space that's still within the building zone. So within the surveyed zone where we can actually build. The current house hasn't been updated since 1954. So this is still like full cottage, asbestos tile, really needs updating and not meeting a lot of health standards that we of course want to meet as we're growing our family. And the proposal actually also includes updated drainage systems, which are all indicated on the plan, filling our old well, which is currently on property, removing all of our unsafe structures on the property. We have a retaining wall that's falling over, and then lifting the house by about 3 feet because we're right on the edge of the flood zone here in Tuttle's Point, which, you know, proposed for potential future, any potential if we end up moving into the flood zone. Most of the flooring though, like, yes, it is livable space. There is a section of the flooring zone though that is a covered porch that's not livable space. So that piece is not, and I'm fairly certain that that's a piece that's considered and in the flooring proposal.
Is that
So,
a question?
yeah, I'm fairly certain that a covered
I just
covered-
have the numbers from your surveyor, so I don't have the calculations. I don't know how
Yeah.
to calculate.
So then it includes the proposed flooring expansion of 31.5%, also includes a covered outside, completely outside porch. It's not a screened in, it's not a 3-season, it's a porch. So I actually think it would fall underneath the 30% because that's not livable space. That is,
That's not how floor area is calculated, but I appreciate your
Is it-
thoughts.
that's what I was asking.
That's
That's why I asked.
I would say that's a good point. Are you on public water?
We're on public water.
You are.
Yes.
I can share the site plan if you'd like to take a
Yeah,
look.
I would like to see the location and the site plan.
Give me
Thank
just a second here.
Thank you, Ann.
I also want to just mention, because I think it's important, we are on rock ledge and there's no plan to blast or anything along those lines. We're not adding any type of basement, nothing like that. It's literally just the first and second floor.
If I can ask, how long have you lived there?
4 years. We bought the house from my uncle, who's actually on the call, James Coyle. So we bought the house in June, but we've both lived here since December of 2020.
Thank you.
And in years past, would, before the zoning code rewrite, would this have gone to the zoning board of appeals?
I don't know the old code well enough to speak to that. I will say it's unusual that these expansions of nonconformities come to a planning and zoning commission as opposed to a zoning board of appeals, but that is how 8.2.e is written. It allows for construction, reconstruction, enlargement, extension, moving, or structural alteration of buildings or structures which are existing nonconformities to be heard out under a special permit by the Planning and Zoning Commission. But it's a fairly unusual, well, at least in my experience, it's unusual for the Planning and Zoning Commission to be hearing these things, yes.
So if I calculate right, they're exceeding the coverage by 20%. And as I recall, we have some flexibility on maximum coverage, or no?
They're not exceeding by 20%, they're exceeding it by 3.9%.
3.9%.
No, well,
Well, no, but if you
Right.
compare the value of 17.9 to 15, it's not 3%. It's
Right.
it's about 20% above
Oh,
what we
yes,
would allow.
yes,
Yes.
sorry, yes.
so.
And my question was, do we have some flexibility on that? Or is that a kind of a hard
You
standard for us?
do, if, I'm gonna share screen again so you can see what the text of the regulations say. So if you look at point 2 here, prior to granting any such special permit, the commission shall find the following. So you need to find all of these things in order to say yes. The proposed construction shall result in a general improvement of the lot with regard to safe access, suitable drainage, and adequate landscaping. Non-conforming signs and lighting shall be brought into a conforming or more nearly conforming condition. Adequate provisions shall be made for landscaping and buffering, especially to adjacent residential uses and in any area required for setback from a residential district boundary line. And the overall result of the modification shall result in a situation whereby, in the commission's sole opinion, the architectural and site improvements or operational changes will result in a net reduction of the overall impact of the nonconformity of buildings and other structures and site improvements. That's a lot to swallow. I will say that I think B is probably not even applicable in this situation, but D is the clause that I would think you would have the most discussion about.
Is there an existing site plan to show where the existing structure is?
All I have is I have the survey, which, let's see, it just shows.
We do have our
It shows the
existing.
existing underneath. Let me
Mhm.
share. Yeah, if you see here,
Oh,
it
is
says
that the little,
existing
oh,
house.
yeah. Mhm.
And then I do also have, if it's helpful, I have the architect, well, they're not architectural drawings, they're sketches by a drafting firm.
Which we also have the update on this. I didn't know if we needed them for tonight, but we have all of these updates too, that are actually in a better design.
Yeah.
Let me just
So-
inject a few questions. Maggie, so you were on a triangular corner lot.
Yes,
Yep.
Okay.
in this, well, in the center of the
so,
street.
And so based on your plans, is there any encroachment? And I'll just throw that term out. On your neighbors, your two neighbors that abut your property.
No, not at all. We are
Okay.
actually within our existing building zone section.
So, and you go back to that regulation change. I think the operative, one of the operative terms that struck me was improvement. And one of the things that Maggie referenced specifically was asbestos,
Yes.
improving the property overall. I mean, they are certainly making it larger, but they're going up more than out. Is that correct?
That's
Yes.
correct.
So
Larry,
Larry has a question.
Yeah, so going back to the lot coverage, given that it's rock ledge and we're exceeding the allowed coverage, I'd like to hear more about the stormwater drainage system.
Yeah, I wish I could tell you all of the depths of how it's been organized and proposed. But from what I understand of the drawings that our surveyor has done and that our general contractor has looked at, that we have, because our property is essentially like this, and it comes down from the top of the triangle, and that the drainage system is actually going to be off of the backside of our home. And that's replicated in the drawing that you guys have access to.
So to the point of the triangle?
No,
No.
the opposite, to the
Sorry.
wide part of the,
Okay, the
triangle,
wide
yeah.
side that abuts your two neighbors.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It looks like to me that they have a catchment system for the runoff from the roof on the plan.
Yes.
So I think that
And
the impervious,
town
that's
engineer proved that as well. They are in compliance with the stormwater regulations.
Okay.
Thank you, Ann.
I think one of the constraints they have is they have an existing septic system in
Yes.
the northern corner of their lot, which forces them to put their house where it is, I think, basically.
Exactly. Yeah, and even if like we're not increasing our bedroom size, we're not increasing anything like that. And we had A&W out here this week to do an inspection. And we have the space if necessary in the future that we wanted to increase our septic, but they've said that, you know, this is a fine size for right now because the house is not like our occupancy is not changing and our bedroom count is not changing. So, well, our occupancy count is changing because I'm pregnant, but that's different.
So is your bath, I would assume your bathroom count is changing.
Yeah, we're increasing by 1 bathroom.
Pretty tough lot to work with.
Definitely.
Good views though.
Oh yeah, wouldn't even know.
It's beautiful here.
Yes.
All right. Any clarifying questions from other commissioners?
No.
Apparently not. Are there any comments or questions from the public on this application?
Quick question. What are the parameters for us allowing, you know, construction in excess of the zoning code? I mean, I keep coming back to this, but in the past, the applicant would have had to go before the zoning board of appeals and demonstrate a hardship for being granted a variance from the code. And where, you know, where are we drawing the line? I mean, I think this is a pretty reasonable application, but I think it's a slippery slope we're going down in terms of granting people excessive coverage or over the limited amount when that's our code.
So Phil, are you really kind of touching on precedents and whether we are overstepping what has traditionally been our province that has normally been appealed by?
So in the past,
the ZBA.
what would have happened is we would say, here's the code, we want to do this. Well, that's outside of the, you know, the regulations. You would need to go to the zoning board of appeals to, you know, seek a variance from the regulation, at which point, you know, if it came back to us and they said they needed a special permit, at least we can have the backing from the zoning board of appeals saying that they've reviewed this. It just seems like a slippery slope to say, I want to have a larger house.
So what you're really thinking about in your comments is about future applicants that could be stretching the boundaries even further.
Well, this one stretches it pretty good. I mean, the excess of, you know, the coverage is almost 20% over what's allowed. You know, I think that the 30% to the 31.5 is de minimis, but you know, the actual floor area is quite a bit bigger than it's allowed. And again, I'm just throwing it out, you know, what standards are we using?
It's a valid point. I would really, I'd be interested in other commissioners, you know, thoughts about this, because you know, precedent is you know, important when we're subject to, you know, legal challenges in the future. And I just want to get your thoughts on whether we should. I'm not sure we can, but you know, I hate to do it to Ann, but you know, should we kick it back to ZBA?
I don't I have gotten a legal opinion on this section because it's been problematic for me to interpret. And Chuck Andres was very clear that though it's unusual, this is what was adopted as part of this revision to the code. So this is the place for this discussion. You could, you do have to meet your own standards and determine as a commission that you've met these standards. But you also have, it is a special permit, so you have the ability to set a standard, maybe tied to the existing bulk standards or not. But yeah, you are setting precedent here, so.
Would it be?
I have a question about, go ahead.
I was going to say, are we within our purview to ask Board of Zoning Appeals for an opinion? Get advice from them? Would if it came to them, would they grant this variance, or would they not, and why? Could we ask for that advice?
I don't think they do that without actually having an application in front of them.
Well, they'd have to get the application.
Which is not required.
Right.
It's so weird.
But
So-
I'm asking, could we ask for that?
No.
Yeah.
So let me just understand, because of the new codes, this is being kicked to us instead of zoning board of appeals. Is that correct?
For whatever reason, and again, I was not here for the history. You all would know better than I. This section 8.2.e, where exceptions to pre-existing nonconformities exist. In any other municipality, this would have been kicked to the ZBA, but for whatever reason, the Planning and Zoning Commission reserved these rights to hear these expansions of pre-existing nonconformities as the Planning and Zoning Commission and not as a variance, which would require hardship.
I wonder why.
So it's
I think it was.
relatively unexplored.
I know
I
why.
think-
It's because it had to do with so many lots that are
Yeah.
in town that are in this situation.
Yeah,
That is why
it was in recognition, as Bill's saying, to the number of lots that, will likely come before us or our successors, in terms of, people who have a non-conforming lot that want to improve it. And that's why I go back to that term improvement.
Right.
So, I think, we're at the point where discussion has basically been exhausted, and
I do have a question though about special permit.
Go ahead, Bill.
So, Ann, a special permit is case by case, is that correct?
Yes.
So I don't understand the concept of precedent, because we could decide yes or no on this and say that was our decision on this special permit. And then the next one comes for us and we can do the exact same thing. I don't think that we should start to project to the future. I don't agree with that. If we want to ask them to make their front porch smaller or something, that's one thing, but I don't think we should start thinking of, well, what ifs, because, the next special permit that comes to us, we can say, no, that's absolutely no way, or yes.
Right. See, that's what I was trying to get across. I mean, this particular circumstance, they're a corner lot, which has no neighbors on either side. It looks like their plan is well within the property, and they have the drainage system figured out for the two rear abutting lots. So, like you said, it's just, we make the decision on this based on that without harming any neighbors to the left or right. And then we deal with the next case. But I also understand what Phil was saying too. So, I'm kind of new at this, but I hate to drag these people out longer.
This is what we have now if we decide we don't want it to be in there in the regulations, then we have to ask somebody to take it out and give it back to somebody else. But this is what's in front of us, and this is an individual special
Yep.
permit case.
Yep.
I am,
I think Don made a very good point, and that is something that I've focused on based on seeing the lot configuration. You know, the impact on neighbors is minimal. They're on a corner, they're on a triangular lot with two abutting neighbors. They're not, you know, they're not moving the line of the
rear of the property.
Yeah, the rear of the property anywhere near their neighbors.
They're putting the rear part of their new house on the exact line of the old house.
Yeah.
And yes,
right.
they're adding a little porch where it says porch.
Right.
You know, so other than that, they're pretty much the same.
Bill, maybe your point is, you know, is correct in terms of the distinction between precedent and special permit. And I think that's something we should take into account here. And unless anyone has any objection, I will move to close the.
Quick question.
Well,
Do we still have
just,
do we still have a 2-meeting requirement for special permits?
No.
Nope.
Yeah, so our rationale will be in the minutes. So we've documented why we made this decision in this particular case, so that when it comes up again, we have this to fall back on. We can't have some lawyer saying, well, you did this
Right.
before, and why don't you grant it to us?
That's the what part I'm worried about too, is being kind of legally pigeonholed into approving the next application that wants to improve or increase floor footage by 20%. Oh, but you approved this a year ago, you have to approve mine now. But it seems like we have the flexibility because of the wording of things. So I'm comfortable with moving
Yeah,
forward.
I mean, as the way I think about this, and speaking in an open-minded fashion, is, you know, non-conforming property, whether it's non-conforming or not, but expanding a property and not developing other land seems to me to be a bit kind of a best use of property.
They're
As long
improving
as
the
it-
site,
Yeah.
improving
they're
the
improving
site, and we have our rationale
Exactly.
documented in the minutes.
What if it was a conforming lot? What would have to happen there if someone wanted to exceed the coverage?
They would have to go to the ZBA.
So why are we making special exceptions for non-conforming lots?
That's
That's
what's
the
in
way
the,
it's-
that's what's in the
That's
new
what's in
code.
it's in our code right
Right,
now.
and then-
It-
Sounds like another text amendment's coming.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Just what Ann wants to hear. I'm wondering, like, did this find its way into our new regs because of the ZBA? Did they kind of want to put something in here to kind of kick it out of
No.
their purview, or did
No,
From
I
planning
think
zoning wise.
as Sean said before, it had to do with all of these completely tiny lots that got caught up in the zone
Right.
changes that were made
And-
over the
and
years.
it really,
so
I
somebody
think
thought it was better that handle it this way?
Yeah, I think in anticipation of more applications like this in the future, as Bill just referenced, I think we're going to get more like this, and I don't think it's a bad thing.
No.
Okay.
You're
It's-
taking a
it's-
1950s house and you're
Exactly.
modernizing it, you're improving its energy
Exactly.
efficiency, all these things, and I think that we need to take
Removing
those.
the obsessed.
And I
Yeah,
think
getting rid of asbestos tile and
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
if it conforms with, stormwater management, sewage,
help.
clean water, I mean, these guys are on, just to use this as an example, they're now on public water. That was not the case 2 years ago, probably. I mean, they're all improvements.
Yeah.
And
We close a public meeting. Can we continue this discussion?
We talked about that.
Yep, we
That-
did.
You have not closed it yet, so if you.
Is that a
so
motion,
desire-
Roger? I'll second it.
Sure.
All right, Sharon.
It has
Right.
been interesting to listen to, though. So thank you for all of the information.
Yeah,
This
well,
is very insightful.
I hope you've appreciated our tangential and,
Diligence.
somewhat off the cuff.
And learned a lot.
comments.
Okay,
All right.
thank you all.
Good.
All right, I think I've heard a motion and a second to close the public hearing.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Bill?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for coming.
Yes. Yes, from Bill.
Bill. Don,
Yes.
Kevin,
Aye.
thank you. Oh, boy, that's heartwarming.
That's so good. Heartwarming.
Phil,
Yes.
Roger,
Yes.
Ted is not here. I will vote yes. I think I've caught everybody.
Don,
you missed me again. I'm getting a
Oh,
complex.
Larry. I'm sorry. All
I'll vote affirmative.
right. All right.
And-
Not aye or yes, affirmative. All right.
Affirmative. So I just make the comment that zoning laws are kind of static. We're just about to begin our new plan of conservation and development. And I'm wondering if this is something that should be on the agenda of how we want to think about these non-conforming lots. And
good point.
and
I don't
Think
think we
about
should be
how we
treating
might-
non-conforming lots any differently than conforming lots.
yeah.
I mean, I
Anyway.
don't understand why there's a separate process for granting an excess on a non-conforming lot versus a conforming one.
Well, we have
mean-
a steering committee for the plan of conservation and development. And
I-
suggest we
I-
kick it
I'm
to them to
suggesting-
think about this.
I'm suggesting a text amendment back to Ann that the approval of, exceeding standards on non-conforming lots be held to the same standards as conforming lots. And that it go to the zoning board of appeal and let them deal with it. I mean, why would we treat them differently? I don't understand. I mean, there might be a lot of them, but there's also a lot of conforming lots.
Well, I think that makes a whole lot of sense because I'm concerned the way the language in 8.2.e reads, especially 2D in particular, that we are required in these situations to assess the changes and ensure that they will result in a net reduction in the overall impact of the nonconformity. Well, what's being recommended here in this proposal is worsening the nonconformity, having a larger building on a small lot as it is. So I think that's a conundrum, the way this is written to me, because I think we need more flexibility than that. And the way that particular clause is written, it's saying that if it's not improving the nonconformity, then we can't allow it.
Yeah, it sounds like the verbiage needs to be cleaned up on
Right.
that. Yeah.
If I may, I think you have a few options here. You can table this, think about it for a month, discuss it next month. You could add some conditions to the special permit to address some of the things that you're concerned about. You could vote to approve, you could vote to deny. Those are 4 options.
Like options.
Well, if we table it, we're just gonna be in the same spot next month because the codes aren't gonna change.
True, but your thinking may have evolved.
I mean, like I said, and I know I'm a new guy here, but there's no infringement on any neighbors on either side. They're building out from the rear wall. And it is gonna be an improvement. I understand that, but and it, like you said, I think it was Larry that may have said it, that as long as the verbiage is in the special permit as to why we made that decision on this, we should be covered.
So
And then
how,
work
how,
on changing
how
the
within,
verbiage or something.
how within the verbiage are we going to describe a decrease in the nonconformity?
Oh.
That's the issue I have with this, unfortunately.
I mean, we could deny, was it without prejudice, meaning they could bring the same application back again. You know, whether it's modified or if between now and then we decide that, you know, these types of deviations from the zoning code need to go to the zoning board of appeals and through that process. And if they get it, and they can bring it back. I mean, again, back to Roger's point, we're directly violating the D clause within that code where it says that we have to reduce the nonconformity.
And could you bring the lot plan back up,
Yep.
please? Thanks.
Let me,
And does it make any difference that we're in a coastal management area?
Well, they were gonna raise the house anyway, so that, I mean.
Yeah,
3
they're not
feet.
in the flood zone right now.
Just
We're
wait.
gonna raise the house by 3 feet.
So as you can see from the drawing here, the little hatch, the light hatch line is their existing house. And so the main part that they're increasing the nonconformity is with that side porch there. So if we ask them to remove, no, the other side there. If we ask them to remove that porch, then they're not increasing the nonconformity at this point because everything else is within the setback lines. And I guess that would probably decrease their coverage quite a bit too. And I don't have the calculation.
I mean, that just strikes me as a I don't want to call it a technicality, but that seems like something that should not deny this application. It's a porch. It's not.
I know, but
it's towards the tip of the triangle. It's not towards their neighbors.
I know, but I think
feel like there are,
Phil is uncomfortable with the fact that it increases their nonconformity.
You know what? If we vote on it, Phil can vote no.
Okay, I'm all set on a vote, but I just, I'm trying to not have to say, without prejudice and all these things and have the people come back.
No. We
blah,
shouldn't
blah,
have to
blah.
do that. No, we shouldn't. No.
I just feel like there's other issues that are getting improved. And I think Sean, you touched upon this earlier. There are other issues that are getting improved to offset the nonconformity. And if we're just going to look at this, I know we're a planning and zoning commission, so we're locked into looking at things certain ways. If we're just looking at this from a square footage nonconformity side, then that's pretty narrow. But if we're going to basically say, okay, it's kind of, you're increasing square footage here, but we're making improvements there. And overall, the project is a betterment for the area.
For the property. Yeah, I agree. So I think we should take it to a vote and see where we end up.
Yep, I agree, Bill. So I am going to ask for a motion. And I welcome anyone's voice.
So I think, Ann, you wrote something up, correct?
Yeah, I wrote a draft approval, which was sent to everybody. I could bring it up if you need it.
Thank you.
Sure. And we only need to read the top portion, I believe, correct? As I looked through it, it seemed like.
If you're using it, you could just say in conformance with the draft report.
Right. Okay. So special permit for 7 Faulkner Drive, map 17, lot 63, zone R-2, applicants owner Mary Callahan and Matthew Davis, special permit to reconstruct and enlarge an existing non-conforming single-family residence to be approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission as its December 4th, 2024 meeting, as stated. I forget what you always say to say below, but as stated below or close. I know you said it better. Anybody second that?
I'll second it.
We are at vote time. Bill Freeman,
Yes.
Don Pritchard,
Yes.
Kevin Clark,
Aye.
Larry Rizzolo. I didn't forget you this time.
And I greatly appreciate that, and I vote yes.
Yes, thank you. Phil Johnson,
No.
Roger Joyce.
No,
I will vote yes. I think the majority has it.
That is correct.
As an aside, if you want me to study this section and make some recommendations, I'd love some direction on it because I too think it's a little odd.
I mean,
Vague.
I don't think that the
Vague.
regulation doesn't say anything about offsetting, improvements. I think we've kind of injected that into the conversation,
Just,
outside of
I
what the
think
actual.
I think
You're right.
it deserves some review, and to the extent that it streamlines future discussions on items like this. I think it would be worth staff's time to review it and make suggestions. And as is noted in the agenda, the draft agenda that you all received, there are a number of text amendments. I'm assuming you've reviewed all of them. They're
Yeah.
being tabled because of the necessity that SCROG review them. But Ann and I discussed this earlier today or yesterday. Do any of the commissioners have questions about any of the text reviews that are underway?
Well, as far as I can tell, just from what I've read, and maybe I'm missing it, is that I'm just reading the listing for the amendment. I don't know what the verbiage is behind, like the ADU provisions and things like that. Is there a place I can go read about what the amendment is going to accomplish?
Yes, all of the materials are posted to our website. You can download the text documents, which discuss every text amendment. They discuss the reasons behind the amendments, and there's a red line section where we're marking up the existing amendment, and then there's a clean text version at the end of what's proposed. And each item, I could go through it really quickly to just give you the highlights of the changes. 95% of the changes are cleaning up contradictions with other pieces of the ordinance for our own interpretation so that we can cleanly interpret things. But if that would be helpful, I could very quickly run through them. What do you think, Sean?
Next.
I would ask, the commissioners, do they want Ann to take the time to do that? I mean, she's.
I'd like to read them first, just personally.
Okay.
I-
All right.
I agree.
Yeah, and so I have not had a chance to review the agenda for SCROG for the December 12th meeting. I suspect that these items, which will come before SCROG, will not be reviewed until January. So
Next meeting.
yeah.
So
and-
probably not till our February meeting would we be voting on them anyways. We do need to officially table all of these items if you wouldn't mind doing so.
So everybody's good with that.
Yeah, I'll move tabling these items.
Second,
Second,
All right. Bill Freeman,
Yes.
Don Pritchard,
Yes.
Kevin Clark,
Yes.
Larry Rizzolo,
yes.
Philip Johnson,
yes.
Roger Joyce.
Yes.
I will also vote yes. I think the motion carries.
Okay, and I'll just throw it out there. If you have questions after you read the documents we came up with, happy to discuss any of them with you guys. I will be making some adjustments to the collector streets and the state highway text, but you will see that before we vote on it again.
Okay.
Thank you. Ann.
So moving on to other business, our first item is a request by attorney Robert Leitza for 413 Vineyard Point Road. As you recall, this was a subdivision we saw in the summertime. He has requested a 90-day extension for the filing of the subdivision. I think they're hoping to sell the property without having to subdivide it, and they would like the clock to run for a while longer. But that would be something you need to vote on to approve that 90-day extension for filing.
All right, I'll make a motion to extend their request for 90 days.
Second.
Here
All
we
right,
go.
we'll take
Or-
All right, there we go. I'll take a vote. Bill Freeman,
Yes. You cut out there for a second, Sean.
Don Pritchard,
Yes.
Kevin Clark,
Yes.
Larry Mazzillo,
Yes,
Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Roger Joyce,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. Motion carries.
Thank you. The second item is a little refresher for you all. We've gotten about 5 different complaints about Eunice Demond and the state of her property, including complaints about a smell emanating from the property. Just to give you an update of where we are in it, Abby went out last week with Sonia from the health department to take a look at things. We are simultaneously, Ms. Demond is working on a site on Hubbard Road behind the existing bus depot to relocate, or I guess relocate's the word, to relocate her rehab facility in a new structure that she's proposing to build. She's been in talks with the town about that. The town is amenable to that site because it's one of the few sites that are town-owned and meet the requirements for animal boarding facilities. Though she's been into site plan review to talk to the team about the requirements for what that application will look like. In the end, it will be, I can't recall if it's a special permit or a site plan application. She's a long way from making an application to the commission. It may be, I can't even guess. It may be a year or 2 or 3 or 4. I don't know what the finances are like, but she is making plans. The point is, she is making plans to move her facility.
and
I saw the pictures today of what the yard looks like. I agree that there's a blight issue. So Abby is working on a notice of violation, and we'll sit down with Ms. Demond in the next week or 2 to discuss cleaning up, throwing things away, storing things in a more neat appearance, so that we are being sensitive to her needs to hang on to some of the things she has for the new facility, but also sensitive to the complaints that we have gotten. So that's all in process. We wanted to just update you because we've gotten literally 5 or 6 different fairly lengthy complaints from folks in the community about that property.
And would you add also that she has also, I think, applied for, I'm not sure what the term is, but she's applied to the state for some kind of relief as far as the requirement that she have a bathroom on that new site?
Yes, yes, there has been some discussion with the building official, Kim. They were talking about asking for a code modification to not require a bathroom. Kim has been discussing that with the state officials, and they found a way to reclassify the and again, I'm speaking out of turn because I'm not,
We understand, we
I'm
understand.
not up on the building code, but they found an alternate way of classifying the project so that it doesn't require a bathroom, which actually makes it easier for her to pursue building.
That's a cost savings move. She wouldn't need a septic.
Correct.
Right.
And
Water
how-
line.
How close is that property to the area the town's thinking of building affordable housing? Will we be creating another, odor
Well,
nuisance?
there's on that Hubbard Road property, and then there's the Sawmill property that the town's considering. There's a significant wetland that divides the
Uh-huh.
two.
Yeah,
And it's a
okay.
significant, I would say it's between a 50 and 100-foot corridor swath that would divide the two. So I don't think it would, I think it's probably the best place that at least we could identify that fit the zoning regs. It
Mhm.
needs to be zoned industrial, and this parcel is, but I think it's fairly well buffered from anything else around it. There's at least 200 feet to the residences to the north, the, I
Apple
want to say
tree.
Apple, yeah.
And when you think about this and how slowly Eunice has been moving on anything, I mean, it became obvious that the offer of driveway as a site was not going to work long term. So it makes more sense for her and frankly the town to we're not that we're going to break any long-standing rules or go against any state laws, but if this site off of Hubbard Road works, given the future that we all envision for driveway, and the movement of town works to, Long Hill Road and Route 80, it makes more sense, even if it might take, as Ann said, and I think it's reasonable to assume, it might take another year or two before she can get her act together. But it makes sense.
I have a question. I have a whole support of her moving to another location, and I admire her zeal in her efforts to save animals. But I do question is why the town has allowed her to build structures that are non-conforming, since we seem to be in that vein tonight, and not, make them take them down. So I don't understand that. There can be all those buildings over there that have no permits, have not gone through planning, they haven't gone through building, they haven't gone through health, and yet there they are in disrepair, and they're not being taken down. And the town spent a good bit of time and effort to make sure that that didn't continue as an operation there. So I don't know why those buildings are still up. Can anybody explain that to me?
To be frank, we haven't done the historic research to see when we would have to. Obviously, if there are no permits on records for those, we have to make sure that they haven't been there for more than 3 years, because if they have been for more than 3 years, the nonconformity becomes legal
Really?
by state statute.
Oh,
And honestly, we haven't taken a look at the aerials, but we very much do that research to, I mean, maybe
Yeah. I'm close by.
but we have to document when we see them showing up essentially on aerial photography in order to enforce against those non-conforming structures.
And I understand that, and I knew that back then. I know that when I came into this neighborhood in 2018, that those structures were not there. And I know the question is the clock stop as far as the nonconformities when the cease and desist order is issued, or does it just go on in perpetuity until somebody decides to measure the years? Do you understand that question?
I think Ann does, and I think she will look into it. And I think that you should, at this point, leave it to Ann to do the historical analysis and see whether there is a remedy.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
gonna need to do some more research. I can't answer your question right now, but I will commit to, we will work on that.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, the next item in other business is
yes.
site plan approval for
For
business signs.
signs. I'm gonna bring this up so you guys can take a look at it. There's been some debate around the office on this one. Let me see. Okay, this is section 7.2.f. It's part of the ordinance that applies to signs in the business district. So there's a section that is just signs in general, then there's a section for signs in residential districts, and then a section for signs in business districts. This is the only place in the ordinance where signs are required to go through site plan approval. And so we've had questioned, a lot of folks from the public pushing back on this. I don't have the history of the decision making here. All I can say to folks is these are the regulations on the books that I am tasked with enforcing. But the questions come up enough recently that I just wanted to kind of talk to you about what were we thinking here, and why do pretty much any other signs can be just approved through a design review process and then a zoning permit. Is there something about identification signs that came up during the rewrite of the zoning regulations that made the commission say, you know what, we want to see all of these as a site plan application?
Or entertain comments by commissioners. And can you characterize, try to characterize the public comments that you've been getting?
Generally, it's that it's the comment we get all the time about everything we do. It's too many regulations. Why do I have to do this? I never had to do this before. Too government overreach. Right.
All right. So the comments have not been coming from the public complaining about signs. It's been from companies that have been putting up signs.
Yes.
Okay.
It's from the applicants themselves.
So that's something for commissioners to contemplate. If the public is not up in arms about signage, should we be?
No.
The only other
Do
case
we
where
really want to wait till people get up in arms?
Well, exactly.
Are they not up in arms because we
Because-
require site
Because
plans?
of the regulations in place.
Well, too bad Ted's not here.
I was just gonna say the same thing, Bill. And did you by chance hear from him at all, knowing that he wasn't gonna be here? I wonder if he had some comments, because he's been pretty vocal about this topic.
all he said was that he was going to Japan, and I wished him a safe. He didn't say anything about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, he's definitely having more fun than us.
I will say the only other instances where site plan approval is required for a sign is in the cases of planned residential developments and non-conforming uses. But it's interesting that for business signs, it's all of the identification signs that require site plan approval, but real estate signs don't, announcements don't, specialty, banners, flags, and pennants that are allowed to be up on a temporary basis don't. So I guess, yeah. The question is, do you Yes, the commission wants to see these in site plans. Every new business sign that's a wall sign, yes, we want to see them. I'm just confirming that just because of the vocal nature of our applicants.
Have we seen signs in the, I can't, maybe I'm unaware of it. I don't recall having to review a sign since I've been on the commission.
I don't.
So
Oh,
where
I
would
do.
this,
Generally,
Huh?
signs go to the design review committee. In some cases, they do go to HDC. The applicants get comments. They either make them. If it's HDC, they'll make the changes. If it's design review,
All right, but aren't those permanent signs?
yes.
Yeah, so I think what has brought this about is I mean, I don't know about you, but I think the sign industry is exploding because
Everywhere.
their printing technology has advanced. They can sell it much cheaper than they ever could before, and they're marketing it to people all along Route 1 and elsewhere. Wouldn't you like a sign to advertise your business? So the question is whether the public is upset about this. That's the question that comes to mind for me. I'm not sure what comes to mind for you. I mean, I don't like them. I'm not outraged by them. It doesn't, I don't want to pull over and pull them out of the ground. And I want businesses to thrive in Guilford in any way they can without going over the line. So Roger, you raise your hand.
I guess my thought about that, Sean, is this: in our role in this whole conversation, I think, is to ensure compliance with the existing regulations. So if the public may have a reaction along the way, we may hear that, but that should lead through a process to a change in the regulations. So my focus is it compliant or not? I think it's that. I don't want to make this sound too simplistic, but I think that's pretty much where we are. And I think with regard to, complaints that Ian gets from, retailers or whoever about signages, that's the way it is. Those are the regulations. I'm here to be sure you comply.
Well,
Yeah.
and
So
I would also add that, probably a reasonable number of people are not aware of the regulations. But we've had enforcement on these things in the past on other people, and to allow them to go unchecked isn't fair to the business owners where we have enforced it.
Yeah. So I've got a question for Ann, and I'm not sure Abby is in attendance. I think she is. And this kind of goes to Roger's point. If we have approved regulations, they should be enforced and should not be ignored. Having said that, do we have regulations that can be reasonably enforced? Are they reasonable in the first place, and can they be reasonably enforced? So the question for Ann is, and for Abby is, practically speaking, and let's just be practical about this. Are they enforceable as they are written? Or should we consider some changes that would be consistent with public input, commercial input, and town?
I think two different issues here. One is the enforceability of the current regulations, which it's fairly clear. The only thing I might suggest is that, and I have bias here, I will admit to that, that the sandwich board signs at some point, we should just outlaw them. because now what happens with the sandwich board signs is that you're allowed one every 100 feet of frontage, but if you have a shopping center that has 6 different tenants and you only have 100 feet of frontage, they all have to argue between themselves as to who gets the sign. And so we end up saying to them, you have 5 signs out here, you only can have 1, but practically speaking, they don't talk to each other, right? So that's a problem.
Right.
So, and then the banner signs that Phil and I object to, we have been going out and talking to folks. People get kind of, not so nice to Abby when she goes out, but she's learning how to let it roll off her and just say, these are the regulations. This is what you need to comply with. I think
she needs a uniform.
yes, I need to buy her some branded clothes. The question we specifically wanted to talk about tonight was, we have a whole slew of signs that go through design review, and then we check against the regulations, or, it actually happens the other way around. But these wall signs there's very strict standards for them written into the regulations, but on top of our review and what may be a DRC or an HDC review, they also, on top of that, have a requirement to come for site plan approval. And I guess the question we were just posing is that too far? Maybe it isn't. But we're getting a lot of pushback from folks who are who desire to put up new wall signs. And we're like, yeah, you have to go to DRC. You have to jump through our hoops so that we know that you're in compliance. And by the way, you have to go to the commission, and they only meet once a month, and good luck with that. It's just a question. If we're happy with this, we'll leave it alone. But we've gotten enough pushback that I was like, we should ask the commission if they're happy with this, and that's why we're talking about this.
I think it's coming before us because I don't think the entire commission has full awareness of the issue. So, Phil, you and I have talked about this. I'm not sure what Roger's thoughts are, Larry's, Kevin's, Bill's. It's not top of mind for me. It doesn't mean it's not top of mind for you. So
if I'm understanding Ann correctly, you're just looking for guidance whether to eliminate it from coming before us or not coming before us. And since I've never had the opportunity, and maybe it was just part of under the radar and it was already approved by all the other folks and it just slid by, I don't see any reason that it needs to be analyzed by us. We're not really, I don't know. I think it's already been analyzed pretty good by the time it gets to us at this point. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say it's already jumped through the staff who are you compliant, and then either a design review committee or the HDC, depending on where it is. And they're pretty, though I've had folks who go to DRC. DRC says use X color, and they're like, okay, I jumped through that hoop. I did that. I'm compliant with the square footage, but I want my sign to be purple. And DRC says they wanted it to be green. Can I make my sign purple? And I have to say, yes, you can make your sign purple because the design review committee doesn't have any statutory authority. That puts me in an awkward.
Would we have the authority over the color if they came before us?
Yes.
No, I don't think we should be involved in that at all.
What is your favorite color, Bill?
Chartreuse.
Well, hasn't the design review committee given us advice? They offer us an opinion when we consider a special permit or whatever.
Right.
And their comments are advisory, but we're making the decision.
Yes,
but I think what we're talking about here is it's an open discussion about streamlining. And if someone, how many hoops does someone have to go through?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, let's not make it so draconian that someone has to go through design review, historical, and then possibly planning and zoning. That seems a little extreme to me.
And plus, Ann, you're going through it from the standpoint, does it meet the square feet? Does it
Right.
meet the height? Does it?
Well, and think about town staff. It's adding more layers of bureaucracy for an applicant to go through,
Yeah.
and adding more work to staff
To bring it before us.
to bring it before us. So I'm anything we can do to streamline it.
I think putting the genie back in the bottle when it becomes a problem is gonna be an issue. And we're not gonna know it's a problem until it's a problem. So it hasn't been a problem for us in terms of reviewing these things to the best of my knowledge. So are we
I mean,
basically?
the problem has been pop-up signs. Has not
Yeah.
been the signs that have gone through design review and the historical, you know.
It's the extra, it's the extra ACOP thing.
It's the stuff that just pops up overnight.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is where I think
Abby goes out.
the question to this commission is about, you know, how I don't want to use the term muscular, but how much time should Abby be spending on that versus stuff like Benton's Knoll? You know, I mean,
So, Ann, are you looking for a vote from us or are you looking for?
I will tell you honestly, we've been holding 3 wall sign applications. Because I said, you know, 3 different applicants have been pushing back against having to come for site plan approval. And I said, okay, since you're all ganging up at me at the same time, I will bring it to the commission and I will ask them if they want to stand on the existing regulations. And yes, all 3 of you need to come for site plan approval. Or if the commission instructs me to say, you know what, we think this is too much regulation and let's treat it as any other sign and just get a sign permit. And then I would follow up with a text amendment in that second case. But I didn't know how you felt about it. I still don't really know how you feel about it. But I made the commitment to bringing up the issue to you. So I need some direction. Either hold on what we have, let's go for it, or consider a text change.
I'm in favor of a text change. I don't know.
so am I. I agree, Bill. And thank you for bringing it before.
Yeah, really. Thanks for being an advocate for them.
Thank you.
Yeah. How do we deal with the pop-up signs currently? It seems to me.
Yeah, these are not what we're voting.
This was the focus of our discussion, was pop-up signs.
No.
No,
Yeah.
pop-up signs a different thing.
Yeah.
Pop-up signs, Abby's literally been going out and pulling them out of the ground, but
Yeah.
that's
No,
everybody.
what I'm saying, before you came, when I
Yeah.
first joined the commission,
Oh, right. That was,
that was a big discussion.
that was Ted.
Yeah.
So Abby's been yanking those out of the ground, but as you know, as soon as she yanks a whole truckload full and we take them to the dump, they
Magic.
appear again.
Oh my God.
That's why they're called pop-up.
They pop out of the ground. So Sean and I are kind of in favor. Do we have any other feedback here? Phil?
I don't feel a compelling need to deregulate this.
Yeah, and certainly, I don't think it should be, you know, on our agenda every meeting either. So, yeah, I applaud Abby for what she's doing, because that's tough to do.
That's a thankless job. It
Absolutely.
really is.
And we spent a lot of time redoing the regulations with the idea of simplifying and reducing regulations, and this just continues that trend.
Sure, we our intention was to reduce, but certainly to simplify. But
Larry, is that a yay for taking out of our hands or?
Yes,
Okay.
that's going along with with you and Sean.
Okay, and Mr. Joyce, where are you standing here?
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay. Kev?
So I think we have a little bit of consensus. I'm not sure if Phil is along for the ride, but so I'm not clear as whether this requires a vote to better inform our town planner and Abby.
But does it need to be unanimous?
Well, I would prefer, if you're instructing me to read the regulations differently than they currently exist, I would prefer a vote. And then I could come back and add a text amendment, but I'm
Yes.
not sure you're all on the same page, so I don't want to force
Yeah.
anything here.
Okay. No, I think that's where we're pretty much landing. I think that we would like to entertain a text amendment. I hesitate to ask Ann whether, given that other text amendments that are before SCROG, this text amendment specifically, given that it will come later, will have to go before a subsequent SCROG meeting.
If I get it to them fast enough and they're not going to hear the others until January, I could maybe able to
You might be
sneak
able
it
to
in.
squeeze it in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'd love to know how to deal with the three folks who are waiting for direction. Do I tell them to go, yes, you
Until-
have to come?
until it's changed, that's the regulation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry.
Oh,
Sorry. So, Ann, do we need a vote?
No, I'll draft something for you guys to look at, and then you can come to the next meeting and tear it apart or not.
All right.
not to belabor the subject, honestly, I'm still trying to figure out what a wall sign is. I think I have an idea, but I'm all for the streamlining concept. I really am, but I tend to lean towards what Phil is saying. If you wouldn't mind, I'd like Phil to maybe kind of like flesh that a little bit more about as far as the genie back in the bottle comment, because that's kind of where my mindset was. Is that if we relax the regulations a little bit, right, and it allows more signage, and then maybe we start getting more complaints from the public, something we're not getting now, maybe because of the regulations, right?
Or people
How do you reverse that then to then appease the public because now because we relaxed the regulation, there's too much signs? That would be my concern.
Again, reimposing it after you let
Right.
it go is going to be
Exactly.
next to impossible. And
I think but
other
I
than the
think
three
But I'm
applicants that are
confused because I don't ever feel like I voted on a sign or anything. I mean,
I know. I think
I'm
a
bewildered.
site plan review for a sign seems to me, frankly, ridiculous.
I don't
It
disagree.
really does. For a sign to come before the Planning and Zoning Commission seems to me to be ridiculous.
I mean, it has to be a certain size and it has to be this if it's on
Yeah.
everything, right? So what are we approving?
how long was that? How much?
We're not
much
talking
time-
going full. We're not talking going full laissez-faire. We're just saying, cut out, the steps these people have to take to put a sign up.
But also, what are we actually approving? We aren't approving the color, are we?
You will very shortly probably see 3 site plan applications for signs, and then you
and
can
one might be
determine what
red?
you're approving. The text in the existing regulations is pretty clear about square footage. It's a maximum sign area, and that's about all it says. So you can be approving whatever you want, I guess, based on what design review says in their memo.
So if I can just ask, Kevin brought up a good point. What is the definition of a wall sign? Is it affixed to a building?
Yes,
It's not something that's placed out in front of the business. So like if somebody sold the Big Y Shopping Center and Stu Leonard's bought it, they're not gonna be able to put some crazy big sign out front that's gonna obstruct view and all that. That still has to be reviewed.
in that case, that's a shopping center sign, which is a different thing, but a wall
Okay.
sign would be just your typical, your name's above the door,
Okay.
your, you
Right.
know, Joe Schmo's hardware store, whatever.
Yeah, we only have a few shopping center districts in town. We just approved, was there a third one?
The one across
yeah.
from the rock pile.
Yeah. And we don't know what's going in there yet, but
But it's gonna have a drive-through.
I'm thinking I want that.
That's right, it's gonna have
I
a
want that
drive-through.
Target sign to be purple.
Okay. I don't want to beat a dead horse here. Let me see if I can thread the needle and come up with some ideas for you to consider. It may take me some time. I have to think about this more, but
yeah, okay.
we'll keep going. We will keep going as required until I can get creative about this.
Good.
Okay, so our last item is that we need to approve the minutes from the November 6th meeting.
Hey, everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes. And we're all gonna miss Ted's,
Yes.
examination of the minutes, but.
You could ask Robin. I think maybe Ted put her through the ringer already, so.
I'd be curious to know what he found, because I went over him pretty well. I didn't really see.
I never see what he sees.
Yeah, never.
He's got too much time on his hands.
He actually said, I've made a great improvement. There were maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 tiny little changes. And I was like, wow.
Maybe a
Coming from Ted, that's what it
comma, maybe a comma or two, yeah.
Inappropriate hyphen use.
I have to say,
All right.
I really like your version of the minutes a lot.
Yes.
I really do. I like how they're constructed. I like the detail of the conversations. It's just enough. It's not too much.
It's really good.
I agree.
Thank you.
All right, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting from November.
So moved, Strong.
Thank you, Roger. Second, Bill?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Here we go.
Raise your hands.
Mr. Freeman, yes,
Yes.
I'm assuming yes.
Yeah.
Don Pritchard,
Yes.
Kevin Clark.
Aye.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome, Sean.
Larry Rizzolo,
Yes,
Roger Joyce,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. Can we,
I
you know,
want
I think,
I want to say how great Ann is.
and
I was just gonna say, I think we all should provide a collective thanks to Ann and Robin.
And Andy.
And thank them very much for the final meeting of 2024. I don't see any plans on the calendar for something we've done the past several years, and maybe we'll see some kind of organizing effort around a luncheon meeting, something casual that the commission can get together and thank the staff for their work during the year. But I want to wish everyone good health, happy holidays, and we will see you next year, if not earlier, depending upon plans for some kind of get-together.
Thanks.
Sounds good.
Right back at you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sean.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
And we need to adjourn.
We do need to adjourn.
Yeah.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Come on, Phil.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you, Phil.
Second.
All in
Thank you.
favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Hey, I do have one question. Where's Mr. Scott?
He was single parenting it tonight, so he said he was gonna try to pop in after bedtime, but you know how these things go.
No,
Terrorists.
tell me he's missed.
All right.
Another one that had more fun than us.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Have a good
He's probably in
holiday,
Japan with
everybody.
Ted.
Okay, good night all.
Good night.
Night.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.